I expressed that I have no interest in your money. Sophia Mendez gripped her wallet firmly, her voice resonating through the cozy cafe even as she tried to keep it subdued. The gentleman in the lavish suit appeared astonished, his hand lingering with his credit card still outstretched. I'm merely attempting to assist, Ethan Reed remarked, his gaze flickering to the young boy next to Sophia, who observed the interaction with an expression of astonishment. Your card was declined, and I wondered, what were you thinking? Does the teacher in distress require assistance? Sophia's cheeks turned a rosy hue. Marco and I are doing well. I have another card. Marco pulled gently on Sophia's sleeve. Ms. Mendez, it's all right, we can return to school. I'm not too hungry. Sophia's demeanor changed instantly as she gazed down at her student. Darling, you really must have something to eat. She faced Ethan again, her tone resolute yet subdued. Thank you for your kind gesture, Mr. Reed. Ethan Reed, he provided, tucking his card back into his wallet. Mr. Reed, I appreciate the offer, but I'm fully capable of treating my student. Ethan nodded and took a step back. I sincerely apologize if I caused any offense. Sophia's second card was accepted, and she led Marco to a table, acutely aware of the millionaire's gaze following her as they moved away. Unfamiliar with his identity, she nonetheless gleaned much from the luxurious watch adorning his wrist and the impeccably tailored suit he wore. Across the cafe, Ethan found himself captivated by the interaction between the teacher and her student. The fierce dignity in her eyes captivated him profoundly. The same as always, Mr. Reed. The proprietor of Edison Cafe set his black coffee down on the table. Thank you, Joe. Ethan, lost in thought, completed the payment while his gaze remained fixed on Sophia and Marco. Who is this person? Joe tracked his stare. Sophia Mendez, educators at Hillcrest Elementary just down the road. One of the greats, constantly prioritizing her children, even if it means settling for ramen at dinner. Ethan nodded slowly, a long-buried sensation awakening in his chest that he hadn't experienced in years. Later that evening, Ethan settled into his penthouse, the city lights twinkling below him. With his laptop open, he delved into research about Hillcrest Elementary. By the age of 35, his company had brought him millions, yet recently he found himself grappling with a profound emptiness that his achievements failed to satisfy. The website for Hillcrest was simplistic and in need of modernization. He stumbled upon a staff page featuring a small photo of Sophia, Ms. Mendez, 3rd grade, her smile radiating warmth and authenticity. After a few clicks, he stumbled upon a local news article that made him sit up straight. Budget cuts threaten the future of Hillcrest Elementary Arts Program, the headline proclaimed. The piece featured extensive quotes from Sophia Mendez, who ardently advocated for a program that provided a crucial emotional outlet and a source of confidence for children who frequently have very little to claim as their own. A photograph captured Sophia standing guard beside a group of children proudly showcasing their artwork. Ethan spotted Marco in the crowd, proudly displaying a painting of a woman adorned with angel wings. The caption indicated it was a tribute to his mother, who had recently passed away. Ethan shut his laptop and strolled over to the expansive windows that stretched from floor to ceiling in his penthouse. His reflection gazed back, embodying success, wealth, and an overwhelming sense of solitude. The scene of Sophia covering Marco's lunch with her meager funds lingered in his thoughts. What are you doing with all this? He inquired of his reflection, gesturing to the opulent surroundings enveloping him. What's the purpose? The phone buzzed, a reminder from his assistant about the acquisition meeting scheduled for tomorrow. Yet Ethan had already chosen a different path. He opened his calendar, freeing up his afternoon and scheduling a new appointment. Explore Hillcrest Elementary. In a cozy corner of her home, Sophia occupied her small kitchen table, immersed in the task of grading papers while enjoying a cup of modest tea. Her apartment exuded a cozy charm, adorned with student artwork and cherished photographs. Her phone vibrated with a message from Principal Garcia, a potential benefactor eager to visit the school the following day. Could you highlight the arts program? Sophia let out a breath, placing her red pen aside. Yet another affluent individual seeking a way to reduce their tax burden. She mused. They would arrive, offer a token contribution for the sake of appearances, and then vanish, completely oblivious to the true needs of her children. Steadfastness, conviction, awareness. All right, she replied, but I won't be performing for anyone. They will witness the authentic journey, challenges included. She lifted Marco's newest artwork, depicting a boy positioned between two towering figures, one clad in a suit and the other in a dress. Sophia found herself pondering whether Marco was envisioning the family he had once cherished. His father, Luis, toiled endlessly, yet the absence created by his mother's passing was evident in every crayon stroke. Sophia jotted down a reminder to grab some additional granola bars for her classroom stash. Numerous children, such as Marco today, arrived without their lunches. She glanced at her bank balance. The cafe had brought her close to the brink, yet she would persevere until payday arrived. Unbeknownst to her, a millionaire on the other side of town was consumed by thoughts of her. Not due to attraction, although her beauty was undeniable, but because for the first time in years, he had seen something that wealth could not procure. Authentic kindness, given freely and without anticipation of reward. Tomorrow, their paths would intertwine once more, and everything would change for both of them. Ethan straightened his tie, poised at the entrance of Hillcrest Elementary. The structure was in good condition, yet it felt somewhat old-fashioned. A stark contrast to the polished steel and glass environments of his tech enterprise. The sound of a child's laughter resonated from within, bringing a smile to his face even amidst his anxiety. Principal Garcia opened the door, her handshake confident and assured. "Greetings, Mr. Reed. We appreciate your interest in our school. Please call me Ethan," he said, trailing behind her as they entered the building. The walls showcased a vibrant tapestry of student artwork, bursts of color and creativity that rendered the dull institutional beige paint almost invisible. Principal Garcia explained as they walked that the arts program has been vital for our students, particularly for those navigating challenging emotions or circumstances. It provides them with an expression when language falls short. They paused in front of a classroom where Sophia was assisting students with an art project. Unbeknownst to her, Ethan observed intently as she knelt beside a small boy named Marco, tenderly guiding his hand as he brought colors to life on the canvas. "That's lovely, Marco," she murmured softly. "Your father is going to appreciate this immensely." Principal Garcia tapped gently on the doorframe. "Ms. Mendez, allow me to introduce you to Mr. Reed, the prospective donor I spoke of." Sophia glanced upward, and a spark of recognition illuminated her expression at once. For a fleeting moment, her smile wavered before her composed facade reasserted itself. She rose, flicking paint from her hands onto her already vibrant apron. Sophia remarked with a hint of detachment, "We've actually met. Yesterday at Edison Cafe. Do you possess?" "Wonderful." Principal Garcia smiled, oblivious to the underlying tension. "Ms. Mendez embodies the essence of our arts program, Mr. Reed." Ethan held Sophia's gaze as he spoke. "I saw her dedication up close, but I'm not sure I made the greatest first impression." Sophia faced her students. "Please keep focusing on your family portraits. I'll return shortly." Sophia stood in the hallway, her arms crossed defiantly. So this is the reason behind your attempt to cover our lunch? Looking into your charity project?" "To be honest, no," Ethan responded. "I was completely unaware of your identity until later on. I simply—" He hesitated, seeking phrases that would avoid any hint of condescension. "Your actions for your student truly resonated with me." Sophia's expression became a touch gentler. So you've arrived. What is it that you are anticipating, Mr. Reed?" He stated it plainly. The truth. There are no shows and no performances scheduled. Simply reveal what these children require and the significance of this program in their lives. For the next hour, Sophia led Ethan through the intricacies of the arts program, discussing the supply shortages, the outdated equipment, but above all, the profound effect on the children. He encountered students who sought solace in art, while their parents juggled multiple jobs, children who navigated their grief through painting, and kids who discovered their sole academic triumph through creative expression. "And this is Marco's corner," Sophia said, pausing at a section adorned with paintings of a woman with wings and a man grasping a boy's hand. He experienced the loss of his mother last year. Creativity has served as his outlet for navigating through it. They are stunning, Ethan murmured softly. He possesses genuine skill. Potential that requires cultivation, Sophia remarked sharply, which becomes challenging when we're perpetually struggling for essential resources. After the tour, they paused outside the school, where a man lingered by the fence. Sophia beckoned to Luis, her hand raised in a friendly wave. This is the father of Marco. Luis Alvarez possessed the roughened hands of a laborer, yet his handshake conveyed a surprising tenderness. Miss Mendez mentioned that you have an interest in our arts program. It has meant the world to my son since we lost his mother. Ethan sensed the profound impact of the man's appreciation. I'm currently looking into methods to assist at this moment. Luis expressed his thoughts with genuine sincerity, stating that any assistance is valuable. Marco discusses Miss Mendez's class constantly. On certain days, it's the sole reason he rises from his slumber. Sophia glanced at her watch. I need to reach out to the students again. Thank you for your presence, Mr. Reed. Ethan, I beg you, he urged. I will reach out to you shortly. As Sophia re-entered the building, Luis observed Ethan's demeanor closely. She's truly one of a kind, isn't she? Half the parents at the school are infatuated with her, yet her focus remains solely on the children. Ethan observed, his gaze fixed on Sophia as she returned to her classmates, framed by the window's glass. I understand the reasoning behind that. You know, Luis said thoughtfully, the school is organizing a cleanup day this Saturday. Dedicated individuals transforming classrooms with fresh paint and repairing playground equipment for the joy of children. If you truly want to make a difference, this could be an excellent starting point. Sleeves rolled up, ready to dive in, not just a checkbook at the ready. Saturday, Ethan reiterated, already envisioning an open schedule. I will be present. Later that evening, Ethan found himself in his weekly executive meeting, his attention drifting as his team delved into discussions about the latest acquisition targets. His thoughts wandered to flaking paint, frayed brushes, and an educator who would sacrifice her last dollar for a student's meal. Ethan, what are your insights on the Meridian acquisition? His CFO interrupted, pulling him from his thoughts. Ethan surveyed the table, his team's eyes fixed on him, anticipating his reply. For the first time, he contemplated the true significance of his success, questioning whether it held any value beyond the interests of shareholders. We will decline, he stated with conviction, and I would like to talk about a new community initiative. A nearby school is in need of our assistance. In a cozy corner of the city, Sophia found herself seated with Luis at his kitchen table, as Marco unveiled his newest painting to them. Miss Mendez, see, it's you guiding me in painting, Marco said with pride. Sophia beamed, observing the diminutive figure in a suit, quietly observing from the edge of Marco's artwork. Who is that in the background, darling? Marco gave a slight shrug. The gentleman from the cafe. My father mentioned that he could possibly assist our school. Sophia and Luis shared a fleeting look. Sophia warned that we can't be certain of that. Affluent individuals often make commitments frequently. He appeared to be changed, Luis suggested. The way he observed you with the children? It wasn't just for appearances. We'll see, Sophia remarked, yet she couldn't shake the hope that Luis was indeed correct. Her children deserved someone who recognized their value beyond mere financial considerations. On Saturday morning, the skies were clear and a gentle breeze wafted through the air, creating an ideal atmosphere for the cleanup day at Hillcrest Elementary. Ethan parked his unassuming sedan in the school lot, having intentionally left his upscale car at home. He picked up a box of donuts from the passenger seat and made his way toward the group of volunteers assembling on the playground. Sophia was coordinating teams, clipboard in hand, her hair neatly tied back in a practical ponytail. She donned worn jeans splattered with paint and a Hillcrest Elementary t-shirt that had definitely seen brighter times. As she caught sight of Ethan making his way toward her in jeans and a simple t-shirt, a look of surprise crossed her features. You actually came, she said, her surprise evident in her voice. Ethan presented the donuts with a flourish. I was informed that this is the necessary entrance fee for volunteer work. A smile danced at the corners of her mouth, even as she tried to keep her expression impassive. The painting crew could benefit from an extra set of hands. Do you believe a millionaire is capable of using a roller brush? I began as the person who painted our first office, Ethan responded, although I can't guarantee I've improved at all. As the morning unfolded, Ethan collaborated with parents and teachers, transforming classroom walls with fresh paint, stabilizing wobbly desks, and assisting Louise in mending playground equipment. He observed how everyone was drawn to Sophia, eager for her insights, exchanging laughter, and absorbing the vitality of her enthusiasm. She embodied the spirit of this community, just as Principal Garcia had remarked. At lunchtime, Ethan ended up sharing a bench beneath a sprawling oak tree with Louise and Marco. Your dad's quite the resourceful person, Ethan remarked to Marco, giving an approving nod at the newly reinforced slide they had just repaired. With a sense of pride, Marco unwrapped his sandwich and declared, Dad can fix anything. However, his voice faded away. Louise tousled her son's hair softly. There are certain things that simply cannot be repaired, my child. Yet we find a way to embrace what we possess, don't we? Marco nodded with a serious expression. Then his demeanor shifted to one of brightness. Ms. Mendez expresses that art allows me to communicate without the need for words. Is that the reason you wish to assist our art room, Mr. Ethan? Ethan pondered the question thoughtfully. I feel compelled to lend a hand, as many of life's most significant treasures are beyond monetary value. What do you mean? Marco inquired, his curiosity evident. Similar to the way Ms. Mendez demonstrates her concern for you, or how your dad consistently supports you each day. Ethan's eyes wandered over to Sophia, who was sharing laughter with a cluster of parents scattered across the playground. Those things hold greater value than anything I've ever acquired. Louise observed Ethan with a fresh perspective. You're different from what I anticipated, my friend. What were your expectations? Is there someone seeking a tax deduction or a chance for a publicity shot? Louise gave a nonchalant shrug. Yet you are genuinely attentive. Post-lunch, Sophia made her way to Ethan, who was busy rinsing paintbrushes at an outdoor sink. You've certainly got a knack for keeping things interesting, Mr. Reed. He responded with hope. Good ones, I trust. Sophia rested her back against the sink. The verdict remains undecided. However, your presence today elevated your standing significantly. Would you be open to having dinner with me sometime? The inquiry caught them off guard. Ethan hadn't intended to pose the question, but as he stood there, paint splattered on his t-shirt and Sophia regarding him with a glimmer of something beyond suspicion, it seemed like the perfect moment. Sophia arched an eyebrow. To engage in a professional discussion regarding the needs of the school. If that's what you want, Ethan said. But I had something more intimate in mind. Sophia observed him intently for an extended period. Let's begin in a professional manner and see how things unfold. In the weeks that followed, Ethan established himself as a regular presence at Hillcrest. He provided support for urgent necessities, acquiring new art supplies, musical instruments, and books for the library, all while collaborating with Principal Garcia to formulate a long-term strategy. Yet, what truly mattered was his presence. He contributed to after-school programs, participated in school events, and dedicated time to grasp the community's challenges. The bond between him and Luis deepened through their collaboration on numerous school projects. Through Luis, Ethan discovered the challenges of single parenthood and the genuine influence of initiatives such as Sophia's art classes. Prior to Sophia's collaboration with Marco, he hardly uttered a word. One evening, as they were busy installing new shelving in the art room, Luis shared a secret. She provided him with an outlet to articulate the emotions he struggled to convey regarding the loss of his mother. She's truly exceptional, Ethan conceded, his voice revealing more than he meant to express. Luis wore a knowing smile. You ought to convey that to her. Next month's exhibition is the culmination of her hard work and dedication, as she puts in extra hours to ensure it stands out. The art exhibition captured Ethan's attention. He obtained contributions from his professional network, organized suitable display equipment, and successfully persuaded a local newspaper to feature the event. All while respecting Sophia's vision, a lesson he was absorbing with every encounter. One afternoon, while Sophia was diligently working late to prepare exhibition materials, Ethan showed up with coffee and takeout from Edison Cafe. "I thought you could use some dinner," he remarked, placing the food on her desk. Sophia lifted her gaze from the vibrant student artwork she was carefully arranging. "Thank you, I completely lost track of the time." Ethan noted this tendency as he settled into a chair. "The workaholic tech CEO?" she replied with a knowing smile. He corrected himself, stating he was a former workaholic. "In the last month, I've entrusted more tasks to others than I have in the entire past 5 years. All to assist a single elementary school," Sophia inquired, peeling back the wrapper of her sandwich. Ethan locked his gaze with hers. "To support a cause of significance." As they strolled toward the parking lot beneath a blanket of stars, Sophia came to an abrupt halt. "Why me, Ethan? What makes this school stand out? Your assistance could be invaluable, and it would certainly be met with much less opposition than what I've presented to you." Ethan pondered her inquiry. "That day in the cafe when you treated Marco to lunch despite your tight budget, it opened my eyes to the fact that I had been evaluating success in entirely the wrong way. What criteria should be used to evaluate success?" Sophia inquired gently. He responded by highlighting the impact we have on people's lives. "A lesson you imparted effortlessly." Sophia moved in, the line of professionalism between them growing ever more delicate. "How about dinner next Friday? Shall we avoid talking about the school?" Ethan's smile mirrored hers. "I would appreciate that." As he drove home that night, Ethan came to the realization that for the first time in years, he was genuinely looking forward to tomorrow. Not for a business deal or acquisition target, but for the simple joy of seeing Sophia again. The wealthy man, consumed by thoughts of the educator, discovered a treasure that wealth could never procure. A motivation to surpass his former self. The elegant Italian eatery felt like a different realm compared to Edison Cafe. Soft lighting, crisp white tablecloths, and the soothing melodies of a piano set a scene that stirred a hint of anxiety in Sophia as the hostess guided her to a secluded table where Ethan sat, awaiting her arrival. He rose to his feet as she drew near, his typical assurance softened by a trace of unease that mirrored her own. "You look beautiful," he said, his voice steady and sincere. Sophia adjusted the fabric of her dark blue dress with a delicate touch, an uncommon indulgence she had rationalized as a career enhancement. "This is a stark contrast to painting classrooms." "Excessive?" Ethan inquired, a hint of worry creeping into his voice. "If you'd like, we can choose another place to go." Sophia shook her head, a smile playing on her lips. "It's refreshing to be in a space that doesn't feature primary colors on the walls for a change." As they gathered around the dinner table, the initial tension gradually faded into comfort. Without the institution as their central concern, they uncovered one another as individuals beyond their occupational identities. "So your parents moved here when you were just 5 years old?" Ethan inquired, his curiosity evident. Sophia gave a slight nod. "My father hailed from Mexico and worked as a mechanic, while my mother took on the role of cleaning houses. They poured every ounce of their energy into ensuring I could attend college." She delicately swirled her wine. "In our home, education was an absolute imperative. My father always said there is one thing they can never take from you. They must feel an immense sense of pride for you. They are, although my mother continues to subtly suggest the idea of grandchildren at every chance she gets." Sophia chuckled softly. "How is your family doing?" Ethan's expression changed ever so slightly. "When I was 8, my father departed. My mother balanced her career as a nurse while raising me. Though our resources were limited, she ensured that I had access to books and a computer." He took a moment to reflect. "I received a scholarship throughout my entire education. The affluent youth ensured that I would always remember it. And now you possess more wealth than all of them," Sophia noted. "Isn't that ironic? For years, I dedicated myself to demonstrating my worth, establishing a business, and gathering all the things I believed would grant me significance." He locked his gaze with hers. It wasn't until I witnessed a teacher cover a student's lunch that I understood I had been evaluating value in entirely the wrong way. Sophia extended her hand across the table, making a fleeting connection with his. Our origins play a significant role in shaping who we are. So, where are you headed? Ethan inquired gently. I aspire to create something enduring at Hillcrest, a program that supports children like Marco through art, music, and expression. Elements that are often eliminated from budgets yet are vital for fostering well-rounded individuals. Her eyes sparkled with enthusiasm as she shared her thoughts. Every child deserves a place where they are acknowledged. As someone once did for you? Sophia gave a slight nod. My third-grade teacher, Mrs. Abernathy, was the first person to recognize the significance of my voice. Her smile took on a nostalgic quality. I'm simply giving back. As the evening unfolded, they unearthed common interests in music, a shared passion for vintage bookstores, and surprisingly harmonious views on topics ranging from educational reform to the finest pizza in town. Sophia glanced at her watch and remarked, "It's getting late. I have 28 eager third-graders awaiting my arrival bright and early." The cool night air enveloped them as Ethan escorted her to her car. The space that once separated them had diminished throughout the evening, giving rise to a new kind of tension in its stead. I had a wonderful time, Ethan said, pausing next to her vintage Honda. So did I, Sophia confessed, which surprises no one more than myself. What's the reason for that? Because men in fancy suits aren't typically my type, she remarked with a playful grin. What kind of person do you prefer? Ethan inquired, moving nearer. I'm still trying to understand that, Sophia said gently, her gaze locking with his. The kiss unfolded effortlessly, momentarily, a soft inquiry rather than an insistence. As they separated, smiles adorned their faces. Good night, Ethan, Sophia said as she settled into her car. Good night, Sophia, he said softly, as he closed her door with care. The following morning, Sophia entered the school to discover a small package resting on her desk. Inside was a first-edition copy of her beloved childhood book, accompanied by a straightforward note. For your classroom library. Thank you for an exquisite evening. Farewell. The ensuing weeks established a cadence in their relationship. Ethan continued to be a presence at Hillcrest, but now there were also dinner dates, leisurely weekend strolls in the park, and serene evenings spent discussing everything and nothing at all. Ethan integrated into Sophia's close-knit group, familiarizing himself with her friends and enjoying moments with Louise and Marco beyond the school environment. Text, did you hear? Marco's already got your wedding all planned out. Louise mentioned one Sunday during their lunch after a visit to the museum. Louise, Sophia exclaimed, her cheeks flushing with color. Children have a keen sense of awareness, Louise remarked with a smile. And nuance isn't precisely your forte, either of you. Marco lifted his gaze from the sketch he was working on. Miss Mendez beams brighter in Mr. Ethan's presence, and Mr. Ethan gazes at her with the same warmth that Dad once had for Mom. The grown-ups became quiet, the simple remark settling heavily in the air. That evening, after leaving Sophia at her apartment, Ethan reached out to his assistant. Jennifer, please arrange a meeting with the board for tomorrow. It's time to delve into that foundational concept. 2 weeks before the exhibition, Sophia arrived at school to discover students gathered around the bulletin board in the main hallway. Mendez, you've made it to the newspaper, a young girl shouted with excitement, gesturing towards the community newspaper affixed to the bulletin board. Sophia stood still, her eyes locked on the headline. Tech Millionaire finds new investment, local elementary school teacher. The piece showcased an image of her and Ethan at a school gathering, positioned closely, radiating a sense of ease in each other's presence. The narrative outlined Ethan's role at Hillcrest and hinted at their connection. Yet the phrase that left Sophia stunned was hidden within the text. 3 months ago, Reed was observed covering the lunch expenses for Mendez and a student at Edison Cafe, a gesture of kindness that ignited his fascination with both the educator and her mission. The cup of coffee she grasped slipped from her fingers, cascading across the floor in a dark, steaming arc. From the very start, he had been aware of her true identity. Was the seemingly authentic chance meeting actually a carefully orchestrated event? Was she merely another endeavor to pursue? Another asset to acquire? When Ethan reached Hillcrest that afternoon, Sophia had already steeled herself for the worst possible outcome. She encountered him in the deserted art room, the newspaper tightly held in her grasp. "Were you aware of my identity that day at the cafe?" she insisted without any introduction. Ethan appeared perplexed. "Excuse me?" She forcefully presented the newspaper to him. "On that day you covered the cost of our lunch. Were you aware that I have been employed here? Was this entire situation merely a clever scheme to appear benevolent?" A look of realization spread across Ethan's face as he read through the article. "Sophia, that's not the way. I was completely unaware of your identity. I just witnessed an educator assisting a learner and felt inspired to do the same. So, why didn't you mention that it was you who covered the bill that day? What's the reason for the secrecy?" "It was of no consequence," Ethan exclaimed, his voice escalating with irritation. "When we encountered each other here, my desire was for you to see me for who I truly am, rather than for a fleeting instance of good conduct." "Every detail is significant," Sophia retorted, "particularly the origins of events. How can I have faith in this us, when it began with a concealed truth?" "It began with two individuals who had deep concern for a child," Ethan responded. "All that followed was secondary." Sophia shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. "I find myself questioning the nature of reality lately. Is this focused on Hillcrest, on my experiences, or on your own sense of self-satisfaction?" Ethan's eyes reflected a deep, unfiltered anguish. "That seems unjust." "Perhaps not," Sophia conceded. "Yet our realms are simply too dissimilar, Ethan. Perhaps we've both been deceiving ourselves, believing something different." She exited, leaving Ethan solitary in the art room, enveloped by the imaginative works of children whose lives he had influenced, including a notable painting by Marco, depicting a boy positioned between two adults, their hands nearly meeting. For a week, the art room seemed devoid of life without Ethan. Sophia immersed herself in the preparations for the exhibition, dedicating her evenings to hanging artwork, crafting labels, and converting the school gymnasium into a true gallery space. The manual work eased her thoughts, yet it couldn't dispel the uncertainty that had settled in. "You're being quite obstinate," Louise remarked candidly, assisting her in hanging a banner after school hours. Marco sat at a nearby table, meticulously arranging his artwork for presentation. "I'm exercising caution," Sophia clarified. "There exists a distinction." "Is there?" Louise carefully positioned the ladder below her. "The man erred in one regard. He failed to mention that he covered lunch months back. In the meantime, he has completely changed this school, been there for these kids without fail, and it's evident that he has developed deep feelings for you." Sophia almost let the banner slip from her grasp. "That hasn't been stated by him. It's evident in every expression he makes." Louise softened his tone. "Sophia, when Maria passed away, I believed that kind of bond was something you only experience once in a lifetime. Don't discard yours out of pride." "It's not about pride," Sophia maintained, as she descended. "It is." She found it difficult to express the terror that clutched at her heart. "What if I'm merely a project for his goodwill? What if he awakens one day to the realization that a teacher from the other side of town doesn't belong in his life? What if he fails to do so?" Louise responded. "What if you are precisely what he has been seeking throughout his entire existence?" Marco stepped forward, showcasing his newest artwork, with Sophia and Ethan positioned on either side of a crossing, each moving closer to the center. He clarified that it was intended for the exhibition. "I refer to it as meeting in the middle." Sophia knelt down, her throat constricted as she leaned in for a closer look. "Stunning, Marco. What inspired you to create this piece?" Marco shrugged, embodying a simplicity that only a child could possess. "That's the way to resolve issues. My father believes that it's important to find a common ground with others." Sophia couldn't shake the boy's words from her mind, lingering with her well into the evening. She perched on her modest balcony, gazing at the twinkling city lights, pondering which of them belonged to Ethan's penthouse. At that moment, Ethan found himself in a critical meeting with his board of directors. Skyline Properties has revealed intentions to acquire land next to Hillcrest Elementary for a high-rise apartment complex, which would obstruct access to the school's playground and permanently shade the building. Next week, they will be filing for permits, Jennifer, his assistant, explained. Work on the project may commence in as little as 60 days. Who is the owner of Skyline? Ethan insisted. Alexander Whitman serves as the chairman, as noted by one of the board members. Weren't you both at Stanford at the same time? Ethan nodded with a somber expression. Connect him on the line. At this moment, after 3 hours, Ethan stepped out of his office. Weariness etched on his face. Yet a sense of fulfillment lingered in his demeanor. He had utilized every relationship, invoked every obligation, and committed to promises that would bear a personal cost. However, Skyline Properties will be exploring other options for their development. He reached for his phone to share the news with Sophia, only to place it back down once more. She had explicitly stated her need for space, and he was compelled to honor that, despite the fact that her absence resonated like a tangible pain. The evening of the exhibition unfolded, casting a new light on Hillcrest Elementary. The gymnasium radiated with expertly arranged artwork, refreshments generously provided by local businesses, and an unexpected gathering of elegantly attired guests. Sophia's elegant black dress suited the occasion, yet her smile appeared forced as she welcomed parents and community members. "This is truly extraordinary," Principal Garcia murmured, taking in the scene before him. "Half of the city council has arrived. What was your approach to achieving that?" "I didn't," Sophia confessed. "Ethan certainly did. Before you turned your back on the greatest opportunity this school, and you have seen in years," Principal Garcia concluded with a decisive tone. Sophia parted her lips to voice her objections. Yet the principal pressed on undeterred. "He continues to stand by us, you see, even after you excluded him. Yesterday, the development company that intended to construct along our boundary line unexpectedly altered their plans. The mayor just informed me that Ethan was the one responsible." "Excuse me?" Sophia sensed the earth tremble beneath her. "Principal Garcia mentioned that he preferred I keep it to myself. He mentioned that he preferred not to make things more complicated for you. That man has deep feelings for you, Sophia. The question remains, do you possess the courage to return his love?" Before Sophia had a chance to fully grasp the situation, Marco pulled gently at her hand. "Ms. Mendez, individuals are casting their votes for the People's Choice Award. Take a look." The audience had assembled around Marco's area, where his meeting in the middle artwork took the spotlight. Sophia's throat tightened as she absorbed the words others had shared. Evocative, impactful, resonates deeply. "Have you come across Mr. Ethan?" Marco inquired, glancing about. "I prepared a unique program for him." "I don't believe he's going to show up, my dear," Sophia said softly. Yet Marco was adamant about the promise he made. "And father says Mr. Ethan consistently honors his commitments, as though called forth by the boy's unwavering belief." The doors of the gymnasium swung open, and Ethan stepped inside. He donned a modest suit, his demeanor anxious as he surveyed the surroundings. Upon catching sight of Sophia, he paused, visibly uncertain about how he would be received. Marco dashed over to him without hesitation. "Mr. Ethan, you've arrived. Come and take a look. My artwork is triumphing." Ethan found himself drawn to the display, pausing at a respectful distance from Sophia. "This is amazing," he remarked, surveying the newly changed environment. "This is truly remarkable work." "Indeed, we did," Sophia corrected softly. "Every one of us." She inhaled deeply, incorporating you. The air was thick with unspoken conflict, despite their outwardly composed appearances, as Principal Garcia revealed the winners of the exhibition awards. When Marco's painting won the People's Choice Award, he insisted that both Sophia and Ethan accompany him to accept it. As they stood side by side on the modest stage, Marco's radiant smile illuminating the moment, Sophia sensed the barriers she had constructed starting to fall away. The boy's painting of the bridge, featuring two figures approaching one another, appeared to resonate deeply with her emotions. As the crowd began to disperse and volunteers started tidying up, Luis made his way to Sofia, his expression conveying a deeper significance. "Marco and I are setting off," he mentioned. "There's a detail about Ethan that you ought to be aware of." "What is that?" Sofia inquired. "He didn't merely halt that development. He has been engaging with education foundations throughout the week. There is a need to create arts programs in schools that lack resources." Luis gently pressed his hand on her shoulder. "The man is doing more than simply investing in Hillcrest, Sofia. He's attempting to transform the entire system based on what you revealed to him." As Luis and Marco departed, Sofia stood solitary amidst the artwork that embodied a wealth of hope and possibility. Across the room, Ethan was meticulously wrapping a student sculpture that had been purchased by a local business owner. Sofia inhaled deeply and started to approach him, her mind drifting back to Marco's artwork. At times, the path ahead could only be navigated by finding common ground. For a week, the art room seemed devoid of life in Ethan's absence. Sofia immersed herself in the preparations for the exhibition, dedicating late nights to hanging artwork, crafting labels, and converting the school gymnasium into a true gallery space. The manual work eased her thoughts, yet the uncertainty that had settled in remained unshakable. "You're being stubborn," Luis said frankly, assisting her in hanging a banner after school hours. Marco sat at a nearby table, meticulously organizing his artwork for presentation. "I'm exercising caution," Sofia clarified. "There exists a distinction." "Is there?" Luis carefully positioned the ladder under her. The man erred in one regard, failing to mention that he covered lunch months back. "In the meantime, he has completely changed this school, been there for these kids without fail, and it's evident that he has developed deep feelings for you." Sofia almost let the banner slip from her grasp. "That hasn't been stated by him. There's no need for words. His expression says it all." Luis softened his tone. "Sofia, when Maria passed away, I believed that kind of bond was something you only experience once in a lifetime. Don't discard yours out of pride." Sofia maintained her stance as she descended, asserting, "It's not pride. It is." She found it difficult to express the terror that held her heart in its grasp. "What if I'm merely a project for his goodwill? What if he awakens one day and comes to the realization that an educator from the less privileged part of town doesn't belong in his realm? What happens if he doesn't?" Luis responded, "What if you are precisely what he has been searching for throughout his entire existence?" Marco stepped forward, proudly displaying his newest artwork, featuring Sofia and Ethan positioned on either side of a bridge, each moving closer to the center. He clarified that it was intended for the exhibition. "I refer to it as meeting in the middle." Sofia knelt down, her throat constricted as she leaned in for a closer look. "Stunning, Marco. What inspired you to create this piece?" Marco shrugged with an innocent clarity. "That's the way to resolve issues. My father believes in the importance of compromise and meeting others in the middle." Sofia carried the boy's words with her, lingering in her thoughts long after she returned home. She perched on her cozy balcony, gazing at the twinkling city lights and pondering which of them belonged to Ethan's penthouse. At that moment, Ethan found himself in a critical meeting with his board of directors. Skyline Properties, a development company, has revealed intentions to acquire land next to Hillcrest Elementary for a high-rise apartment complex, which would obstruct access to the school's playground and cast a permanent shadow over the building. "Next week, they will be filing for permits," Jennifer, his assistant, explained. "Work on the construction project may commence in as little as 60 days. "Who is the owner of Skyline?" Ethan insisted. "Alexander Whitman serves as the chairman, as noted by one of the board members." "Weren't you both at Stanford at the same time?" Ethan nodded with a somber expression. "Connect him on the line." At this moment, 3 hours later, Ethan stepped out of his office, weariness etched on his face, yet a sense of accomplishment lingered in the air. He had utilized every connection, invoked every favor, and made commitments that would impact him personally, yet Skyline Properties would be seeking alternatives for their development. He reached for his phone to share the news with Sofia, but then hesitated and placed it back down. She had explicitly stated her need for space, and he was compelled to honor that, despite the fact that her absence resonated within him like a tangible pain. The evening of the exhibition unfolded, casting a new light on Hillcrest Elementary. The gymnasium radiated with expertly arranged artwork, refreshments generously provided by local businesses, and an unexpected gathering of elegantly attired guests. Sophia's simple black dress seemed fitting for the occasion, yet her smile appeared forced as she welcomed parents and community members. "This is truly extraordinary," Principal Garcia murmured, taking in the scene before him. "Half of the city council has arrived. What was your approach to achieving that?" "I didn't," Sophia confessed. "Ethan certainly did. Before you turned your back on the greatest thing that has come to this school, and to you in a long time," Principal Garcia concluded with a sharp finality. Sophia began to voice her objections, yet the principal pressed on without pause. "He continues to stand by us, you see, despite the fact that you excluded him. Yesterday, the development company that intended to construct along our boundary line unexpectedly altered their plans. The mayor just informed me that Ethan was the one responsible." "What is happening?" Sophia sensed the earth tremble beneath her. "Principal Garcia mentioned that he preferred I keep it to myself. He mentioned that he preferred not to make things more complicated for you. That man truly cares for you, Sophia. The question is, do you have the courage to return his love?" Before Sophia had a chance to fully comprehend the situation, Marco pulled at her hand. "Miss Mendez, individuals are casting their votes for the People's Choice Award. Take a look." A throng of onlookers had assembled around Marco's area, captivated by the prominence of his meeting in the middle painting. Sophia's throat tightened as she absorbed the words left by others. "Evocative, impactful, resonates deeply. Have you come across Mr. Ethan?" Marco inquired, glancing about. "I prepared a unique program for him." "I don't believe he's going to show up, my dear," Sophia said softly. Yet Marco was adamant about the promise he made. "And Dad says that Mr. Ethan is a man of his word." As though called forth by the boy's unwavering belief, the gymnasium doors swung open, and Ethan stepped inside. He donned a modest suit, his demeanor anxious as he surveyed the surroundings. Upon catching sight of Sophia, he paused, visibly uncertain about how he would be received. Marco dashed over to him without hesitation. "Ah, Mr. Ethan, you've arrived. Come and take a look. My painting triumphs." Ethan found himself drawn to the display, pausing at a respectful distance from Sophia. "This is amazing," he remarked, surveying the altered surroundings. "What you've accomplished is truly remarkable." "Indeed we did," Sophia remarked softly. "Every one of us." She inhaled deeply, incorporating you. The air crackled with unspoken tension, each of them expertly concealing their true feelings behind polished professional masks. As Principal Garcia delivered the announcement of the exhibition awards. Upon winning the People's Choice Award for his painting, Marco was adamant that Sophia and Ethan accompany him to accept the honor. As they stood side by side on the modest stage, Marco's radiant smile illuminating the moment, Sophia sensed the barriers she had constructed starting to fall away. The boy's painting of the bridge, featuring two figures approaching one another, appeared to resonate deeply with her emotions. As the crowd dispersed and volunteers started to tidy up, Luis made his way to Sophia, his expression carrying weight. "Marco and I are setting out," he mentioned. "Ethan has a story that deserves to be told." "What is that?" Sophia inquired. "He didn't merely halt that development. He has been engaging with education foundations throughout the week." As they discussed the importance of creating arts programs in underserved schools, Luis gently squeezed her shoulder. "The man is doing more than simply investing in Hillcrest, Sophia. He's attempting to transform the entire system based on what you revealed to him." As Luis and Marco departed, Sophia stood solitary amidst the artwork that embodied a wealth of hope and possibility. Across the room, Ethan was meticulously wrapping a student sculpture that had been purchased by a local business owner. Sophia inhaled deeply and started to approach him, her mind drifting back to Marco's artwork. At times, the sole path ahead was to find common ground. The following morning, Sophia made her way to Edison Cafe, arriving 20 minutes ahead of schedule. She had hardly closed her eyes, going over in her mind the words she wished to share with Ethan. The cafe exuded a serene ambience, with only a handful of early patrons dispersed throughout the tables. She selected the very corner where it all had started months prior. Joe, the proprietor of the cafe, set a steaming cup of coffee before her. "On the house," he said with a knowing smile. "For our favorite teacher." Sophia cradled the warm mug in her hands. "Is it so clear why I've come here?" "As clear as the way that man gazes at you," Joe responded. "There are certain truths that remain visible, no matter how hard you try to conceal them." The bell above the door chimed softly, drawing Sophia's gaze as Ethan stepped inside. He noticed her right away, taking a moment to gather himself before approaching her table. He donned relaxed attire, jeans, and a straightforward button-down, resembling more the individual who had adorned classrooms than the affluent tech entrepreneur. "I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me," Sophia remarked as he settled into his seat. Ethan confessed that he was taken aback by the message he received. However, pleased. Sophia inhaled deeply. "Louise informed me about your actions regarding the development company. It was merely inconsequential." "It was something," Sophia interrupted. "It meant the world to our school. Why didn't you share that with me?" Ethan gave a nonchalant shrug. "Space was essential for you. I aim to honor that, all the while safeguarding something that holds significance for you." Sophia examined his features, recognizing the genuine emotion reflected in them. "I realize I've not treated you as you deserve. You've exercised caution," Ethan noted softly. "For valid reasons. Our realms are distinct." "Are they really?" Sophia inclined her body, eager and attentive. "We both emerged from humble beginnings. We both climbed the ladder together. We share a commitment to fostering opportunities for children like Marco." She extended her hand toward him, bridging the distance between them at the table. "Perhaps we share more similarities than we realize." Ethan's fingers wove together with hers. "I've dedicated weeks to finding a way to show you that we could be a great match. I created outlines and crafted presentations. That perfectly captures the essence of your entrepreneurial spirit," Sophia remarked with a subtle smile. "Yet, the reality is straightforward," Ethan went on. "On that day, I observed you purchasing lunch for Marco, and something stirred within me. Something that lay dormant for years as I pursued achievement. You brought back to my mind what truly holds significance." "And what truly holds significance?" Sophia inquired gently. "Link, objective, creating an impact in just one person's life." Their gazes intertwined. "Affection." The term lingered in the air, straightforward and bare. Sophia confessed her fear. "Not about you, but about us. When the thrill diminishes and the truth comes to light." Ethan admitted, "I'm scared too, filled with dread, truly. I have created businesses from the ground up, yet what I feel for you is the most significant gamble I've ever embraced." Sophia tightened her grip on his hand. "Perhaps we could share in our fears." "I would appreciate that," Ethan remarked, his smile illuminating his eyes. "I've been implementing a few adjustments, to be honest. Matters I wish to share with you." He detailed his journey of reshaping his company, taking a step back from the daily grind to lay the groundwork for a foundation dedicated to arts education in schools that lack resources. He expressed a desire to expand upon what we've accomplished at Hillcrest, his voice filled with enthusiasm. "Provide more children like Marco the opportunity to convey their thoughts and feelings when language falls short." Sophia asked, astonished. "You're completely altering your career path?" "I'm directing my attention towards something significant," Ethan clarified. "A glimpse of what you revealed to me." As they conversed, the morning quietly faded into the background. They transitioned from previous miscommunications to new opportunities, reconstructing the connection between them, one sincere word at a time. "I really need to head to school," Sophia finally remarked, glancing at her watch. "May I accompany you on a walk?" Ethan inquired. The spring air outside brimmed with potential and new beginnings. They strolled leisurely, fingers intertwined, engaging in a dialogue that meandered through a myriad of topics, both significant and trivial. "Would you like to join me for dinner this Friday?" Ethan inquired as they neared Hillcrest. A fitting second chance. Sophia beamed with delight. "I would appreciate that." Half a year flew by, marked by transformation and development. The art program at Hillcrest has grown, bolstered by funding that ensures its future for years ahead. Ethan's foundation began to take form, collaborating with schools throughout the district. Sophia and Ethan's bond grew stronger, navigating the real-life hurdles of blending their distinct worlds. Marco flourished with the consistency and imaginative expression the program offered. His artwork is becoming increasingly refined. Luis emerged as a crucial asset to the foundation, utilizing his construction expertise to transform art spaces in partner schools. On a brisk autumn afternoon, Ethan hesitantly stepped into Hillcrest's art room, where Sophia was meticulously arranging supplies for the upcoming day's classes. "Prepared for the board meeting tomorrow?" Sophia inquired, observing his demeanor. "Your expression suggests concern." Ethan responded without concern, reflecting on the significant transformations that have unfolded since that memorable day at Edison Cafe. "Every change is for the better," Sophia remarked, taking her place next to him. Ethan concurred wholeheartedly. "This is why I feel compelled to ask you something significant, right here at the very place where it all started." He gestured toward the doorway, where Luis and Marco stood with broad smiles. Marco grasped a canvas shrouded in fabric. "What's happening?" Sophia inquired, her brow furrowed in confusion. Marco advanced with confidence, revealing his artwork to the audience. The image captured Sophia and Ethan at Edison Cafe, with Marco nestled between them, all three beaming with joy. Above them, inscribed in meticulous letters, "Where our family began." Before Sophia could fully comprehend the unfolding moment, Ethan dropped to one knee, presenting her with a small velvet box. "Sophia Mendez," he stated, his voice unwavering even as his heart raced. "You showed me the true essence of what is important in this life. Would you grant me the privilege of creating a family together? Would you do me the honor of becoming my spouse?" Sophia's hands darted to her mouth, tears welling in her eyes. She glanced from Ethan to Marco and Luis, who were observing with anticipation, then returned her gaze to the man who had changed her life as profoundly as she had changed his. "Indeed," she murmured, then raised her voice. "Absolutely." As Ethan gently placed the ring on her finger, Marco hurriedly stepped forward to embrace them both. Luis lingered in the doorway, his gaze glimmering with an unsettling intensity. "Does this mean you'll take on the role of my mother now?" With a glimmer of hope in his eyes, Marco inquired of Sophia. Sophia glanced at Luis, who offered an encouraging nod. "Not to take your mom's place, my child," he said softly, "but to bring even more love into our family." "If that's what you want," Sophia said to Marco, kneeling to meet his gaze, "I'd be honored." With a straightforward gesture, Marco indicated his artwork, stating, "I already drew our family. I just needed you all to catch up." Ethan chuckled, draping an arm around Sophia's waist. "Out of the mouths of babes." That evening, the four gathered at Edison Cafe, where Joe had secured their favorite corner table, and served the original lunch prepared by Sophia and Marco, the dish that ignited everything. Amidst the inviting ambience of the cafe, where a millionaire had once observed a teacher's kindness in covering a student's lunch, Ethan lifted his glass in a toast. In a gesture of compromise, he remarked, reflecting the title of Marco's artwork. "To family," Sophia remarked, her ring glinting in the light. "To new beginnings," Luis proposed. Marco paused thoughtfully before lifting his chocolate milk. "To meals that transform everything." They shared a hearty laugh, their glasses meeting in a joyful toast. Certain gatherings, they understood, were destined to occur. Even when they started with a rejected credit card and a fleeting glance, the millionaire who couldn't shake thoughts of the teacher discovered where his heart truly belonged, demonstrating that the most precious bonds in life are rooted not in wealth, but in love. 5 years had elapsed since that pivotal moment in Edison Cafe. The morning sun poured into the windows of the contemporary home that Sophia and Ethan now inhabited, a harmonious blend of his previous penthouse and her snug apartment, offering ample room for Marco's continually growing art endeavors. Sophia occupied the kitchen, pouring steaming coffee into travel mugs as Ethan busily assembled lunches. The rhythm they had established flowed effortlessly, like the very act of inhaling and exhaling. On the refrigerator, Marco's most recent school portrait was displayed next to the wedding photo from 3 years prior, capturing a modest ceremony in Hillcrest's revamped art room, with Luis standing as best man and Marco proudly holding the rings. Prepared for the board meeting, Ethan inquired, offering Sophia her lunch bag. The Reed Education Foundation has exceeded all expectations, successfully introducing arts programs to more than 50 schools throughout the state. Always, Sophia replied, pressing her lips to his for a fleeting moment. While my anticipation for dinner tonight is high, it's hard to overlook the fact that Edison Cafe is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Joe has secured our corner table, Ethan affirmed, as he reached for his keys. Luis and Marco will join us there at 7. The mere mention of Marco brought smiles to their faces. At 13, he was emerging as a gifted young artist, with his work recently showcased in a youth exhibition at the city's main gallery. Luis had carved out his own niche, overseeing the construction for all the foundation's school renovation endeavors. The family they had created was unique, yet it functioned flawlessly. Sophia persisted in her teaching at Hillcrest, determined to remain in the classroom even as her responsibilities with the foundation grew. Ethan discovered a surprising sense of satisfaction in his commitment to educational philanthropy. His keen insight is now focused on amplifying influence rather than financial gain. That evening, they convened at Edison Cafe, a place that had grown over the years to feature a community space providing complimentary meals to students in need, a program supported by the Reed Foundation and the cafe's flourishing business. To 5 incredible years, Luis lifted his glass as they gathered around their familiar corner table, the very spot where Ethan had first observed Sophia and Marco. And to countless more, Sophia added, her hand seeking Ethan's beneath the table. Marco, now taller yet still possessing those same bright eyes, revealed a wrapped package. I created something special for this evening. They peeled back the layers with great care. Within the frame lay a creation unlike any Marco had ever crafted, a family portrait that encapsulated not just the 4 of them, but the essence of the entire community they had nurtured. Sophia, Ethan, Luis, and Marco stood prominently in the foreground. In the background stood Hillcrest Elementary, Edison Cafe, and a multitude of small figures symbolizing the children and families impacted by their efforts. It's referred to as the ripple effect, Marco elaborated, since a single small action can transform everything. Sophia's eyes glistened with unshed tears as she gazed at the painting. She recalled that day 5 years prior, her bank account devoid of funds, a student with an empty stomach, and a credit card that had been declined. At that time, she could never have foreseen how that challenging moment would evolve into something truly exquisite. It's perfect, Ethan remarked, his voice heavy with feeling. He gazed at Sophia, still astonished that the instructor who had once doubted his assistance was now his companion in every way. Joe delivered their original order, the precise meals that Sophia and Marco had been eager to buy on that memorable day. Every year on their anniversary, it had become a cherished ritual to recreate that lunch. Who could have imagined, Sophia pondered, that a wealthy individual observing an educator's plight to afford lunch would result in such a turn of events? I would, Marco declared with the unwavering confidence of a 13-year-old. The signs were clear from the outset. Amidst the laughter, a kernel of truth resided in the boy's words. Some connections are destined to exist, rising above disparities in background, wealth, and circumstance to forge something more powerful than any individual could have constructed on their own. In the cozy ambience of the cafe, as they enjoyed their meal together, enveloped by the community they had lovingly cultivated, Sophia came to understand that wealth could be defined in various forms. By every meaningful standard, love, purpose, connection, and impact, they had all achieved a richness beyond compare.